oxygenate, no? We need to take in some oxygen, particularly when, do we want that one? Oh, well, I think today's a work day. And while I'm rested and strong, we're going to look at the emotional body, particularly the emotional body. Us girls have such a time. Oh dear. There's not enough man on earth that has enough sympathy with what you go through as a girl. I just don't understand. I don't know how you put up with it. I've only had one female life, and it says volume. I must have watched. I can remember being preliminary. We're going back to what was probably the second golden age, which would be 20 million years ago. It's so phenomenal that my mind gets in the way because we were taught so differently. We're taught that the civilization is mostly at 20,000 years or 30,000 at the outside. And a lot of this is, much of this is simply not true. So my empathy in that one life was immense. The choices now are most gratifying. To carry the first ray has been traditionally a role done in a male body. That's my excuse. And there's a certain truth to it. But knowing now that the common principle of existence has anchored, lads, look out. We are a different lot, and it's so fortuitous that finally, we can anchor for creation. Really, the absolute opposite of our source self is this little planet. That's why it's so very important. It may well mirror what we could view as negative beyond any other system that we're aware of in this cosmic day. There's one in this cosmic day that is not very well balanced and would like to be the system. If you have 43 universes in this one cosmic day, number 22 is naughty. And 22 is a wonderful number. So it shouldn't be. But it is. They would like to leave the system, and as referred to, they would like to go to a beyond state. It's not possible. Darkness always tries, and it has never really won. It's part of the same system, and this is such a distortion for us to look at, because we like to things as good, and we establish things as being evil, and they're part of our melodrama. He's very, very good, and he is very, very bad. And this is our whole, we don't realize duality. You must give some thought to that. I have friends in Germany who are so preoccupied with the trauma given their psyche whilst the Second World War was fought, that even though they're not old enough to be a part of that terrible situation, they've taken upon themselves, they've taken the guilt. You cannot carry guilt any longer. It doesn't serve us. It never did. The transparency of what we call and what we feel are so important in our day-to-day existence, when you see, and I really do say it the next 2 or 3 years, we've been told this forever, I know. Well, next year. Somebody said 17 years ago that Maitreya was going to come in his Lightbody in London. So I moved to London for a while. When I have a couple of acquaintances who are familiar with London, if they melt the double-decker buses and diesel and try to stay in a Lightbody, they'd be changing the body about every 30 seconds. It's unimaginable. Anyway, that's another belief system. So what are our main issues as it relates to manifesting abundance? Here's a big one, isn't it? And a lack of single-mindedness. The mind does trip, doesn't it? And all the tools for chaos are available to you 24 hours a day. So it's very difficult to have this single-mindedness, this center, this candle, without any force field, is really not realistic. But to subvert, to display light constantly can be one's reality. And our discipline is just not realistic. Because we all have things to do. And if we don't have things to do, we create things to do. Now, many of you are being slowed down with this new energy where you have to sleep. You find, so much sleep. Gertrude, don't you? Yes, I do too. My husband doesn't understand me. He doesn't know it's the new age. Nothing is as it was. And it's quite phenomenal. It's 6 years, over 6 years now. June 1488, we had the connection with the Source. And I was not pleased that the vehicle used was this personality. I wasn't pleased at all. I was on a little island in British Columbia where I had a small ranch. The kind of ranch everyone should have. No horses, no cows, a tennis court, swimming pool, stables for horses. And on June 1488, I can remember the energy coming in. I was not particularly focused, which is not unusual. And out of I suddenly picked up and thrown across the living room. That's my version. And I've told some people it was over 30 feet. It seemed like over 30 feet. And this was the introduction to thought. You thought it would be a gentle, soft little thing like, we're coming in. Excuse me, sir, but we're going to use your body for a while. No, it wasn't that at all. And from that time till now, there's been some resentment, as there is with many who harbor, why me? We seem to be carrying the brunt for so many. There isn't one among us, not one, who did not agree on this arrangement. Many of you saw the broader picture because you were not in this density. And you saw what could be done. And some of you had a sense through Metatron that it would be done. And you weren't listening necessarily to the planetary hierarchy who didn't know what could and what couldn't be done. They've been great guardians. They've been wonderful, wonderful beings. And it's very difficult now to realize that many of you, because of this assignment, because of what you're doing, have moved in a very literal sense beyond those frequencies of the ones you most adore. And it was never intended to be differently. It's so difficult for man to believe that there truly is divine equality. That no one, I mean no one, is greater than another. We all experience life very, very differently. And we choose at some level of ourselves to experience situations that when we look back upon them, we say, why did I do that? And we've chosen some very peculiar lives for our own evolution that we don't talk about. We all remember being this person or that person, and it has no intrinsic value. Not now. It has no intrinsic value. But we love our gods that we create. We love our heroes. And we make them gods. We do it all the time. And this phenomenon called the media, the shark feast in America and in other countries, it's not just America, but America seems to feed on itself. I use an analogy, and I brought it up in the last class, and that was O.J. Simpson. The world doesn't know O.J. Simpson. They know Pele, who was a soccer player. They don't know O.J. Simpson from Adam. Only Canadians and Americans know O.J. So it's rather humorous to be in Switzerland. The greatest crime, greatest murder crime ever committed in the world. In the world. Pele was maybe known by 2 billion people. A soccer player. That they call football. But a football player known by maybe 200 million is not known at all. So our the American media is responsible for a great deal of propaganda that's not required to balance. But this is the feeding frenzy and panic that's going on. I just use that as an example. So millions, hundreds of millions, vie for television time because they have, what do you think it is that causes them to watch with great fascination? It's crime. So they have nothing better to do. And we're all fascinated with it. Aren't we? No. No. It's the center of the world. The court case. From the America media, from the height point of view. So the center of the world is okay. Find it. And now you are in control, not the emotional body, and I see this at every aspect of your life, including your subconscious mind, mass consciousness. The shift that we, as a small number, anchored on Earth today would overwhelm you if you were able to see it. For this was not able to stay, this part of the world, above ground. Something would have happened. And it needs to be maintained, and some of you will. There will be groups formed, and I do see it staying. And when we release for ourselves those negative emotions, the negative ego, we release for all consciousness, for all levels of being. This is a profound experience, for you are not an island. This distresses some of you, the individuality being lost. You perceive it when you go on to higher realms. You never left with higher realms. You might lot life being assigned to this outpost called Earth. You never lost and never left what we call the higher realm. But this little planet insisted on separating, or in quotes, falling, unquote. And in this massive fall, there's been great alienation and great abuse. You're looking very, very well. You've got great gratitude for what work you have done today, particularly on this area, and for the earth, for all kingdoms. So when we work on ourselves, on our own emotional body, we assist all of creation. And using the simple figures of 1 to the 160th power with a group this size, at certain points, it's that powerful. So it's huge numbers. It's not 100 and some odd people sitting in a little room. This kind of magnification in the 6th dimension is 360 to the 360. do it, but there are huge numbers. And this is who you are. So it's reconnecting with the totality of who we are that we address now. It's making that cosmic connection, not a universal connection anymore. We can move beyond that. And many of you have worked with hierarchies before. Many of you have done what we call ascension. It's the word that's fine. It's like initiation. The points of light that are gathered, and we call it integrated, and we call it an initiation. And I can remember many initiations, so there were always initiations, at least in recent times, the last 250,000 years on this little planet. And sometimes raising up was simply getting rain. So your clothes would be burned off until it rained. Well, that's some lovely. Burn this toe off, this one. When it rains, the gods will have been bountiful. So all of us have been sacrificed limb by limb. And our subtle bodies remember some of our offerings. It's these offerings we now bury. We don't bury them so you can't find them, as so many of you have done with your emotional body. We have material that's so deep, stone under stone under stone rock, that we have not wanted to look at. So the simplest way is with the emotional body, and I explain it this way: the emotional body, many view as a bucket of water that they can shift. Water is the emotional body for the planet Earth, so it's logical to follow. But putting a dye in a bucket of water called the emotional body does not change the emotional body. You change the color. The emotional body, from our perspective, is man's creation, but then why wouldn't it be? He's been short-circuited on his DNA anyway. And the second strand of the DNA is the emotional body. So we'll complete our DNA, and this mutation happens very, very quickly. The shifts in your consciousness as we watch you are more rapid than you could begin to comprehend. There is not a state of limitation any longer. It's just a recognition that you can change, and that you can change most rapidly as we talk. So the emotional body, we try to raise and do raise and will raise into the thymus after there's a certain amount of clearing. So it's embodied like the oversoul embodies the higher self. The higher self is the amoeba principle. The higher self involves and integrates what we call the primary soul, or many we call spirit. The Bible refers to it as spirit. That word is not adequate. So we integrate three lower chakras, which were created by man. Man alone, this is all he had to work with. And we will raise them into transformational fire, and they become a part of the collective self, but an integrated part, to reference the analogy, oversoul, higher self, soul itself. So let's look at these three lower chakras, and tomorrow you can have some fun, but there's a need to clear, wherever we go. It's not only the area, but the world, and the world that many of us don't remember. Everything is a mirror, is it not? Everything. And sometimes these mirrors are objectionable, because that can't be me. Why am I looking at that? Why do I get upset looking at that person? We all do it, and we do it all of the time. Why it's going to be so terrifying for those that are so structured, who are not coded with the same DNA that you are, you'll watch them cling desperately, fanatically to structure. And feel for them, don't argue. You cannot force anyone to do anything in the final analysis. Lord knows, negative energies have had 250,000 years. It's not a very long period of time in the now. 1,000 years is a third of a second. But when we say 250,000 years, it's a long time. In sequential orientation. It's quite a while, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Played out in the now, of course it isn't. It's a long day, this cosmic day. 4.3 billion years. We're over 2/3 of it gone. But in order for us to complete, and some of you know this, in fact all of you do at one level yourself, we cannot leave this little planet, nor will we, because we can't be creative. And of course, really doesn't like to lose. We made some terrible mistakes. We respectfully submit, yes, there were mistakes made. And your elders in Revelation made mistakes. Mistakes are simply mirrors again. We do them for experience. This is the final analysis. Some of them are mistakes. They're just mistakes. We didn't know man would fall. Why would he fall? He's God. He's got free will. Why would he decide that the manipulation and personal gratification through sexual disobedience? I'm not talking about puritanical terms or normal terms. As Atlanteans, it was obsessive. obsessive. So even Altians can fall. They got into this trap of illusion and they stayed there.